Okay. Hi. If you're wondering about the three intros this morning, our computer was out late last night and just sort of wandered in here, and we had to feed it about 3 or 4 cups of coffee before it could find the rest of the programming it needed. Anyway, welcome to Sawdust session number 19. It's May 10, 2008, here in sunny Dayton, Ohio, but not for long. There are storms on the way. And today I promised to talk to you about making bevels and miters. And if you'll look at your blackboard, you'll see that I've got a project plan on the screen for a diamond-shaped shadow box, which is what I'm working on right now. It will look like this when I'm completely done. Well, it'll look better. At any rate, as so often happens, you know, Drew and I are really in the strictest sense of the words, we're research and development here. We do these things and try to invent ways for you to do them better. And in doing R&D on tilted table operations for the past 2 weeks, we've come up with some really nice jigs. But we've also found out that there is a whole lot more to this than we thought. So we're going to, rather than try to cram it all in one Sawdust session and lose some of the stuff that we've discovered, we're going to spread it out over 2, and you'll be able to follow this diamond-shaped shadow box through its completion. As you can see by the plans, or by this half right here, there is not a straight line on this. Every cut is an angled cut. It is some very complicated compound mitering, angled dados, bevels that go beyond what you might think the table saw mode on the Mark V can do, but we're going to show you how to do all of that. As always, when you take this information with you out into the shop, please be safe. Keep your fingers on your hands at all times by using all the guards that come with the tools, and keeping your hands out of danger zones. Whenever you can, protect your eyes, ears, and nose. And always, please, brush off the sawdust before you go back into the house. Wars have been started over less. All right. With that, let's jump into the first part of this. For those of you who are experienced on Shopsmith, some of what I'm going to have to say on this is going to be old hat. To others, it'll be new, but I want to make sure that we're all starting from exactly the same page. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about how you make an angled cut on the Shopsmith. Let's go over here. There we go. I've got the Shopsmith set up right now to make a straight, flat cut. The table is set at 0 degrees. The miter gauge is square to the blade. In order to make an angled miter, of course, you would angle the face of the miter gauge. To make a beveled cut, you would have to actually tilt the table. If you know a little bit about the history of woodworking tools, you know that this is one of the older types of tables around. The tables with the tilting arbors that are so common now today weren't common until the 1920s or the 1930s. This is actually a much older system. Sometimes it's known as the English system. It's just as capable as the tilting arbors, but there are some differences in the ways in which you go about making these bevel cuts. The first thing that you want to do when you make a bevel cut is you want to slide the table right here and the headstock all the way to the right. My right, your left. Okay. The reason for this is because when you tilt the table, it's going to tilt like this, and you want the stock to be able to run off the end of the Shopsmith Mark V. You can't go over to the other end, because if you try to tilt the table that way, the headstock stops the table. So in tilting the table, we have on the trunnions something called a vernier scale, and I'm going to go over real quick how to read the vernier. Let's go over, yes. Stuck here on the end of this Mark V. This is an old trunnion from a 500, and if you'll look here, the degrees on the trunnion are marked in 5-degree increments. Okay. Now I'm going to hold the locking nut up, and here's another small marking indicator. This is the vernier scale. It's right under here. Let me see if I can actually take this off. I mean, this is casting a shadow, and I want you to see that vernier up close. Are there enough threads on this? I don't think so. Okay. It keeps going. There we go. Aha! Dropped the first thing today. Okay. That maybe you can see the vernier a little bit easier there, but you can see it has a 0 indicator there in the center, and then 5 degrees to the right and 5 degrees to the left in 1-degree increments. If you want to put the table absolutely horizontal, you line up the 0 on the trunnion with the 0 on the vernier. Okay? There it is, more or less lined up. Okay? If you want to tilt the table 30 degrees, okay, you line up the 30-degree mark. It's 1530 with the 0. Okay? Now, let's say we're cutting an octagon and we want to make a 22.5-degree cut. All right, there's the 20-degree mark there. Okay? If I come this way, there's 21, 22, okay, approximately 22.5 degrees. I use the vernier scale, lining up the 20 with what the 2 in between the 2 and the 3 mark on the vernier. Okay, very simple to use, extremely simple to use, and reasonably accurate. If you're sure that when this is set at 0, the table is absolutely square to the blade, then that I just did there, that will be 22.5. Honest to goodness. The trick is to getting your tools properly set up. Now let's come back over to the big one. Drew's dancing around here. I'm making him work this morning. Okay, when you're tilting the table, you have to extend the quill as you go, because of where the pivot on the trunnion is positioned. The slot in the table insert will actually move to the right, your left, my right, as I tilt this table. So I have to extend the quill in order to keep the table or to keep the saw blade centered in the slot. Let me put this over here, and I'm going to get ready to extend the table. Get rid of the miter gauge. But I'm going to do one other thing before I go. First of all, when I extend the table, the saw guard here is going to be pulled downhill, and most of our saw guards around here actually have a cut in them, and this comes from being used when it's downhill. You can use the saw guards. You can use the saw guards up to about 30 degrees, but once you get this table to about 45 degrees, that saw guard wants to walk into the blade. So I would turn it up like this. Okay, we're going to have to be careful now because we're working with an unguarded blade. Okay, now you see I had some tape there on the pawls. Okay, this is the other thing that happens. The pawls can get in the way, especially when you have the cut extremely tilted. Now I'm going to go over here and get some tape. I had the tape out here yesterday. Okay. Thank you, my lovely assistant. All right. Let's come back here, and I'm going to take a little bit of masking tape. I'm going to take the pawls. I'm going to pull them up all the way, flip them over, and then put a piece of tape right there to keep them from. In fact, I may need two there. No, that'll work. That will keep the pawls out of the way of this cut. Now, last thing, as we tilt this table, there are, in addition to using the vernier, there are some other things that you can use to tilt the table. This is a clinometer. It has a Shopsmith logo on it. That's Drew's doing. Actually, if I peeled that off, you'd see it would say Ace Hardware. The clinometer is an extremely accurate tool. It works on gravity, and you can use it to get to where you're going. You just sit it on the table, and as the table tilts, the clinometer reads off the degrees, and it's got degree marks on there, and it's a nice tool. It really is, and in fact, there are some very small but very effective surveying instruments out there, antique surveying instruments. If you go to eBay and plug in inclinometer or clinometer, you can find some of these that will actually read off the degrees in half degrees and sometimes even quarter degrees. But this is a nice thing to go. The problem with this is that it uses a magnet to stick to the table, and of course we have an aluminum table which doesn't take a magnet, you think. I'm going to show you something in a minute. Let me show you this first, though. This is a Wixie little angle gauge. Let's see, can we come in closer with that? There we go. I'll put the Wixie and the clinometer side by side here. There you go. The Wixie is a digital readout, and it will read degrees off in 1/100ths. Let me turn it on there. I don't know if I can turn that so the light is right there. You go. You can begin to see that. So that's it will read off the degrees in not 100ths. It will read off degrees in tenths. So you can use the Wixie to get this to your accurate to a tenth of a degree. Like the clinometer, there are magnets on the bottom. See that? Okay, I'll show you the magnet on the bottom of the clinometer. It's kind of dark there because it's the magnet. The plastic is black, and so is the magnet. But there is one there, honest to God. So the Wixie and the clinometer are built to stick to the table. Now just keep that there in mind, and let me show you how to get them to stick. There you go. There's your magnetic mount right there. That's all it is. In fact, I've put it up there on the blackboard. You can get it. It's one of these Shopsmith T-nuts that we sell for $3. It's made out of steel. Things with magnets actually stick to it. And if you put a 1-inch bolt in here, and you'll see a little later on why you need the 1-inch bolt. And I also have a washer, okay? You can slide it right here in the slot, okay? Tighten it down, and then your Wixie will stick right there. So will your clinometer, okay? Neat little gizmo for not much money. Now the reason for the 1-inch bolt, let me show you this. Every now and then, you need to adjust your miter gauge very accurately, and I'm going to show you how to do that later on, but there you go. See that? You can get your Wixie or your clinometer to stick to your miter gauge. Oops. There. I'm trying to find the camera. There we go. See that? So that you can use this to do to set your angle. That being so, I'm going to set up and use the Wixie here to set the angle of this table to exactly 30 degrees. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Wixie on this side, okay, of the blade, and I'm going to put the, I have another one of these mounts over here. I'm going to put the clinometer on this side, and we're going to check them against each other as I tilt this table to 30 degrees. Okay? Now, we will probably have to take camera A, because I have to see this, but we'll take camera A off its mount and move it around here after I get this table. Or I tell you what, let me turn the table around, guys, so that you can more easily see these gauges as I tilt. Okay. Now, gauges are in place. The vernier scale is set to 0, 0. Inclinometer is on 0. The Wixie is on, and it's reading 93.6. So I'm going to zero it out by pressing that little button. I got 0.1. I'll try it again. There we go. 0.0. Now remember, as I tilt this table, I have to extend the quill. So let me loosen the quill, and then loosen the table lock, and I'll take this to 0. Let's put on my glasses so I know I'm getting to 0. Let's see how close I can get with just the vernier alone. Yes, I see ya. I see ya. Yeah, I got down here on the floor just so you could lick me. That's liberty. Okay, now, according to my vernier, right there is 30 degrees. Okay, I'm at 30.6 on the Wixie, and just a little over 30 on the clinometer. So let's take this, let's take the Wixie up. Okay, there's 30.0 on the Wixie, and clinometer looks to be right on to get this thing. All right, there we go. I'm going to walk behind here. Go ahead and stay where you are. Drew. I'll bring them in so that they can see the numbers. Here's the clinometer. There you go. See that? There's a little bit of parallax there, so it looks like it's more than 30, but if you look at it straight on, it is 30 degrees. Let me take my hands off the tripod so it doesn't bounce around. Now let me go down to the Wixie. Oop, 30.1. Okay, that's close enough for government work, don't you think? Okay. Anyway, one of the things that I found out when you're trying to set this table to 1/10 of a degree, you want to bring this, you want to set it to about 2/10 of a degree past or 2/10 of a degree above what you want. I actually tightened down the lock here when the Wixie was reading 28.8 because it normally drops 2/10 of a degree from gravity. In this case, it dropped 3/10 of a degree. So you learn to work with your tools. But in any case, probably. Okay, yeah, the vernier is just off by about the width of the line. So, fortunately, the vernier is it can be easily adjusted. We just get a screwdriver, and you can move it right or left. At any rate, our table is now tilted to 30 degrees. That would be the bevel on the two sides of the diamond shadow box. Where it comes together in the middle. We're close here, so let me take my instruments off, and we'll get ready to make the cut. Now, I have a miter gauge here. Now, I know that this is square to the blade. If I push this through like this, and I'm working on the downhill side of the Mark V, my hand is tilted away. Of course, I wouldn't be over here. I'd be standing like this, so I'm not in line with the cut. My hand is tilted away from the blade. That's exactly the way I want it, especially since we're working with the guard up. If I work like this, as you can see, not only does my hand come closer to the blade, but the miter gauge comes extremely close to the riving nut. So if you want to make your cuts on the downhill side. Well, okay, here's the problem. How do you line up? First of all, how do you line up the cut? Let me go get a board here, and I'll show you what I mean. You get the cut lined up, okay, and you let go for an instant. That's the second time I've dropped something, but I did that on purpose. So what Drew and I have come up with here, this is the first jig we have to show you today. It's just an extended miter gauge face is all it is. It has a base to it, unlike most miter gauge extensions, and you'll see the reason why. Was that good? Okay, we just ate a piece of wood there off the floor. It also is made so that you can mount it on the miter gauge here, and if you want to. If you absolutely have to work uphill, you can mount it on the miter gauge here. Now I'm going to put this in. And dogs are having a great time this morning. Fasten that to the miter gauge. There we go. Make sure that is fastened down so that it doesn't move. There we go. All right. Now, we're almost ready, except we've still got that same problem. If I put the board in here, line it up to make the cut, the board slips downhill. Let me show you this little thing. Of course, we could put a stop down there, but this is also what happens if your board goes down beyond the end of the miter gauge. This is and I'll come up to the camera to show it to you. This, of course, is the hold down off of your miter gauge. But Drew and I have taken this down. We've added a 3/8 of an inch collar here at this end, And up here at that end, we've put in a couple washers here with a spring in between them, so that this hold now is spring loaded. Okay. Additionally, I've taken a carriage bolt, a piece of wood, and some nuts, and put a handle on here, so I can take this, slide it on here, okay, lock it in place, and then take my board, there you go. Pretty clever, huh? Yeah, I'd say we get a gold star for that one. That is invaluable. I can now easily slide this board back and forth until I get it lined up with my mark. It will stay where I put it. Okay. If I have to make repeat cuts, okay, I just go over here and put my stop in. This is a new stop. There we go. Put the stop in and tighten that down. Now I can repeat the cuts all day long, and they'll be just fine. But here's the problem. I'm going to make the cut just like I've got it set up right now. And I'm going to show you a problem here. Let me plug in. Make sure nobody is standing behind me. Okay. And okay, nothing but a camera behind me. All right, here we go. Never does it when you want it to, but you can see as I cut this piece off, the downhill piece falls into the blade. If I hadn't had the cameras running, this thing would have shot backwards. Okay, once you turn the cameras on, it's anybody's guess. But there is an extreme danger of kickback when you cut this off. So. What Drew and I came up with is this. This is, and I'm going to have to put this in and throw it through one time here. There we go. This is our anti-gravity miter jig. You put your board in, get it set to cut. All right. You move these pieces, move around, and you can actually clamp the board in place. There we go. You want to make sure and sight and make sure that those clamps are not going to drop into the saw. But now, here's what happens. What do you think? Think that's worth another gold star? The piece remains where it's where it is. It does not drop into the blade. Not only that. If you absolutely need to, you can also use this uphill miter gauge as a fence. Now I'm starting to run out of board here, but let me show you. You can take here, another piece for the dogs to chew on. All right, I have, even though this angle is only 90 degrees, I have now just effectively transferred the angle from my miter gauge to here, and I'm using one of these blocks as a fence. The other block I could move over here and use as the clamp. Okay, and if I wanted to, I could then use this piece, stand on the other side of the saw, and make the cut. Okay, so you can make the cut from either side. Those of you who have been watching your email may have seen me in a tip that we released recently showing you that you can use just what I showed you right there if you have a sliding table. Some of you have invested in the Incra 2000 miter system. Others may have the Incra 5000 sliding table. Both of them are exceptional tools. They have the Incra 5000 has a really neat protractor that allows you to set the angle quickly and easily to within a half a degree. The problem is you can't, if you absolutely have to work on the other side of the blade, the Incra will only work on the downhill side. So you can use this anti-gravity miter jig to transfer the angle from your Incra to this. It will be just as accurate and make the cut up here. So that's it. Hey, one more thing I want to show you, just because this gives you an idea of some of the R&D we go through. This was our first incarnation of the uphill. Yeah, there you go. See, look at this. Is our first incarnation of that uphill miter gauge. We made a sled. Drew had just figured out how to do threads in wood, and he was putting threads on everything he could get his hands on. These work very nicely, okay, but I really don't think he needed to thread the legs on my computer stand. But anyway, these hold the thing uphill and downhill. And if you are of the generation that thinks that sturdy also means accuracy, you may want to consider something like this. But this is just as accurate and much simpler to make. With that, I am going to start moving machines around, and we're going to get ready to set up and do some angled dados. In the meantime, I'm going to let Drew entertain you with another one of Drew's interludes.